Hey guys, welcome to the latest edition of the Muir Reflection. John from the John Muir Show here, and over the weekend, Twitter founder Jack Dorsey retweeted an NBC News tweet that claimed that all of the arrests that were made in St. Paul, Minnesota on Friday night during the Friday night riots in St. Paul, that all of those people who were arrested in the riots were from out of state, from outside the state of Minnesota. Now, a check of the local jail log in St. Paul shows that that is not the case, that there most certainly were individuals from the local area who were among those arrested. So what it is that's stated in this tweet that was retweeted by Twitter founder Jack Dorsey simply was not true. And it really didn't take much for folks to realize that it was not true. Now, as of the time that we are recording this video and writing the subsequent blog, that tweet is still up on Twitter, and there was no warning label that had been attached to that tweet. Now, you might remember the words warning label from last week. It was last week that Twitter put a warning label on a tweet from President Trump, where Trump was making a legitimate point about how a system of elections that's fully by mail could open the door for various means of election fraud. Trump was absolutely right in saying that. He's making a legitimate point. People throughout the political spectrum used to admit that before the leaders of the Democrat Party started putting their own political interests ahead of the integrity of our elections and the truth in this country. So look, it was a factual point that Trump was making, and that got a warning label from Jack Dorsey's Twitter. Oh, but when Jack Dorsey himself goes retweeting something that is proven to be false, no warning label gets attached to that tweet. Again, at least at last word, no warning label days later had been attached to said tweet. And last week, that wasn't the extent of Twitter trying to stick it to President Trump. There was another tweet from President Trump later in the week that was deemed as glorifying violence, and that tweet was subsequently then hidden from a lot of people who'd be scrolling through their Twitter feeds. In both cases, in the second case as well, we learned about this later in the day on Friday. In both of those cases where there was Twitter censorship in one way or another of President Trump's tweets, in both instances, Twitter has since admitted that neither of President Trump's tweets violated Twitter policies. So it seems there was absolutely no reason why Twitter should have been censoring Trump's tweets in these various ways. Clearly, when you consider that Twitter is doing this to tweets from President Trump, but not doing this to so many tweets from leftist elites where there's actual misinformation out there, whether it be the Trump-Russia hoax or the impeachment hoax, or now Jack Dorsey's retweet of this NBC News tweet that was inaccurate. In these cases, you have tweets that are knowingly false, that have proven to be false, and Twitter doesn't go putting a warning label on any of them. See, clearly, the goal for Twitter, it's not to get the facts out there. It's not to ensure that people have all the factual information and that any fictional information is labeled as much. Clearly, that is not the goal for Twitter when you see this inconsistency, this double standard that it's operating off in censoring tweets in various ways. Clearly, the goal for Twitter is to try and push a political narrative, and that is a pro-Democrat, anti-Trump narrative. It's one that they've been doing for a long time, and now they're just doing it even more in the open for everyone to see. They're not even trying to hide their political bias. And as the show said, it's fine if Twitter wants to engage in that way. If they want to run a company that's totally partisan, that's pro-Democrat, that's anti-Trump, they absolutely have the right to do so in the United States. But they need to start being honest with the people who agreed to use their service. And they most certainly cannot get government protections if they're going to go acting in this partisan manner. And if Twitter wants to be taken seriously, how about you start actually doing this across the political spectrum when there are tweets that actually have misinformation, like the one that you retweeted, Jack Dorsey? How about you start going and labeling those with some sort of a warning label? But of course, don't expect Twitter to go doing something like that anytime soon, because based on what we've seen to date, Twitter is a lot more interested in shoving their leftist political narrative down your throat unsuspectingly than they are with actually adhering to the facts. That's all the time that we have for today. The John Muir Show, each and every weekday, 8:40 a.m. on WTAQ, 9 a.m., WSAU and WHBL. Till next time, I'm out.